All right. Sounds good?
Yep.
Don't hear any background music? I think they turned it off for
Nope.
us. We're pretty quiet. All right. Well, Miss Elizabeth Baker, thank you very much for coming on. You are guest. This, like I told you before, this is season 1. We're going to have 7 seasons. That's my goal.
Cool.
Season 1, episode 11, Parker Cast, where we're bringing in folks that have done great things or are doing great things in the community. And on my short list of folks to invite, there was always this calendar and individual, and I always wanted to line up bringing you on right before the Mary Martin performance and the Mary Martin flag.
Perfect
Yes,
timing.
yes. So
Yeah.
and then, but when I told my wife and anybody listening who has ever been involved with the Mary Martin musicals, my wife says to me, she says, "Are you kidding me? That is the worst time to bring her on. Make her guest number 1, make her guest number 2. She's like, "Are you joking?" And I said, No. She's going to love it. This is perfect. And she's like, "No, this is the worst timing." So I want to talk about the Mary Martin music. I want to get to that a little bit here in a second. But before I do, I want to give you an opportunity. I want to give the listeners an opportunity to kind of learn a little bit more about your journey here in Parker County. And we can relate it more to the musical side of it.
Yeah.
So you are, we're both, I'm an exceptional athlete. You're an exceptional musician. No, I'm just kidding. You're an exceptional musician. No, you are. You really are. I mean, what you're involved in, I think for a lot of us, I was talking to my daughter Morgan. I said, what would you like to know about Miss Baker? And she says, well, how did she get started?
Oh, that's a cool question.
Yeah, where did this, did you always know you were good at music? Did you love music? Was it an effort? Was it effortless? Tell me about the journey.
I am a natural-born music lover. I loved music from as early back as I can remember.
Okay.
Music has been a big deal to me. Had a really awesome elementary music teacher. She was the coolest. I cannot
Where was
believe
elementary school?
James Bowie Elementary in Weatherford.
All right,
yeah,
all
and I
right.
can't believe, and looking back, in this little country town that we were, she was a super progressive music teacher for this community at the time.
Mm-hmm.
She was so extra. She would put on all these productions and give us props and costumes and sets and everything. And we were literally in the little cafeteria of James Bowie Elementary.
And the name?
Her name was Miss Phillips.
Miss Phillips.
She
all
was
right.
awesome. I mean, I still remember all the choreography. I remember the first solo I ever got in a show. We did this little
What was the
play.
show?
I do not remember the name of it wasn't like a show that we
Just a
know.
little
It was like a
play.
little, yeah.
Yeah.
And I played a mom, and I sang this song to my children,
Yeah.
And it was I can sing that solo right now. And so growing up, music was a big deal to me. The rest of my family were a bunch of athletes. They didn't know what to make of me, except for my cousin that I looked up to so much, who was in band. But yeah, music was a big deal to me.
Where was
Loved
Bowie?
music.
I should know this.
James Bowie is now the
where's
Bowie Learning Center.
Bowie Learning Center.
Uh-huh.
I have a meeting there tomorrow night.
Yeah. So that was an elementary school. And it was really, really, really
Oh,
old then.
The Bowie Learning Center was an elementary school.
It was an element. Yeah, we were kindergarten
Kind of a
through 5th grade.
Nice looking building.
Yeah, it was super duper old. We didn't have central air conditioning. And it was, I'm not that old. We should have had central air conditioning. We had window units, and it was a super old building at the time. I remember we did a million fundraisers to raise money so we could have central
Where
air
was
conditioning.
recess? Was it back where the parking lot is now?
Yeah.
Or was it,
Yeah.
That used to be a playground. or
Yeah, that was a
something?
playground where we caught horny toads. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that was a playground.
a
Dirt.
good memory.
Just solid dirt. Not a blade
No.
of grass.
Hey, this is Texas, Elizabeth.
It was
Anything
great.
else would be unauthentic. So I expect dirt, a little
Yeah.
bit of a swirl every once in a while.
Great memories out on that big
All right.
flat piece of dirt. We
So
had a
you
great time.
kind of credit a little bit of your music start to the music teacher.
Oh yeah. She was amazing, and she pulled me aside one day and said, "You need to audition for the Texas Girls Choir." And I didn't even know what that was. I was like, "What is that? And how do I do it?" So she got me all the information. And I took it to my mom. My music teacher said I should audition for the Texas Girls Choir. And my mom, of course, she knew I was very musical, and she did everything imaginable to try to foster that in me. What she knew to do was give me piano lessons. So she had already gotten me in piano lessons.
Gotcha.
And then when I came home with this, she was like, okay. So she got me in the Texas Girls, or took me to the auditions, and I wound up getting to travel significantly with them all over the world. It was so fun.
Wait,
my
time
gosh.
out. Okay, you just said all over the world.
All over.
The
Yeah.
Texas Girls Choir.
Texas Girls Choir. We went.
Were you just saying that, or you guys went international?
We went international. We were in. We went to an international music camp in Europe, where we were in Germany specifically for a week with students from all over the world at a music camp. That was super cool because we met people from everywhere.
There's a choir in Germany, the boys' choir,
Vienna Boys Choir. Yeah.
Is that still a thing, or am I thinking like Sound of Music?
No, that's still a thing. That's a big deal. Yeah.
You guys were like that? No. Okay.
Maybe not as cool as the Vienna Boys Choir.
Okay.
But all these kids from all over the world were there. It was so cool. And and then we went some other places in Germany, around Switzerland, and Germany, Switzerland, Austria.
And your age at the time? You're in elementary school, but this is
by
second grade, or
yeah,
like
I had
fifth,
to
sixth
move
grade?
up the ladder before I could travel internationally. Okay. My first tour was Mexico. We were deep in Mexico and we stayed in the homes of the Mexican Boys Choir families. So they were like our host families. And so it was like a sister, choir relationship. Yeah, partnership.
Yeah.
So they would come here one year, we would go there one year. They would come here.
Wow.
So that was really cool. And then I leveled up to a touring choir. When you're in a touring choir, that means you can go international. So the first tour was the European tour, and then the second tour was Asia. We went all over. We were in Hong Kong, China. Yeah, it was crazy cool.
So I follow, your family, your boys. We're big fans of the
Yeah.
Bakers, and they're all over. Seems like
Yes.
you got the one who's just all, and this is not unfamiliar territory for you when you're just zipping over quick, or Brent's zipping over quick to Japan. That's not like the biggest thing in the world. This is almost like old hat. For us, I've never crossed the ocean.
Zipping over to Japan was pretty cool and crazy, but yeah, it's fun. Well, I love to travel. I mean, I would spend every spare dime I had, I think, on travel if I could. I love to travel, and I got that bug when I was little. Once you kind of go, you want to go everywhere.
Go back in the vault. So if I were to just say simply, you're traveling, it's this whole story, you're overseas, greatest single memory of being on the traveling choir. Wow. What pops in your head first? Doesn't even have to be greatest. I guess the question is, what pops in your head first? Like, that's the memory.
This is going to date me a lot. So if you have to be old enough to get this, so everybody that's younger than me is going to go, I have no idea.
We all love Journey.
Yeah. Anybody younger than me is going to be like, I have no idea what she's talking about right now. But we grew up watching Dallas.
Oh.
Dallas was huge, right?
Oh.
Okay. So
we named our brewery the third one,
right?
Bourbon and Brands.
Right, yeah.
Because that was J.R. Ewing's drink. That's like my favorite.
So we're sitting here in Weatherford, Texas. This was Mary Martin's home.
Yes.
This was Larry Hagman's home.
Yes.
Graduated from Weatherford High School, right? So when Dallas came on, we were living in Weatherford watching Dallas. This was the biggest, craziest thing. So everybody in the world was watching Dallas, and of course, people in Weatherford were. Well, when we were touring with the Texas Girls Choir, we had touring costumes.
Yeah.
So our costumes were, they're super hokey, honestly, but we had like a big cowboy hat and our cowboy boots. We literally had to fly.
Reflect Texas.
Yeah, we had to fly overseas, like all the way to Hong Kong in our boots and our. It was crazy. So we get off the plane.
Photos with you?
Oh my gosh! So when we get off this plane, it was nuts. We had to have bodyguards because they caught on that we were from Texas, and they were storming. You would have thought we were movie stars. They were storming, and the bodyguards had to keep them away. And they were going, "Who shot JR?" Because it was the summer after the cliffhanger.
Yes.
So that cliffhanger happened, and then like the next, it was like 2-3 weeks later that we went, and they were flipping out. And they were trying to get our autograph because we were from Texas. Like, they thought we were so cool.
No,
we were like,
that is awesome.
Okay. This is all we had to do is show up in a cowboy hat. It was very cool.
Timing is everything.
Yes, that's right.
That's the saying, right? Timing is everything. Wow. Super cool. Yeah. And trivia question, who shot JR?
Oh, gosh. I have to remember.
Think.
It was like the girl. It was
shot?
like
Brent
Bobby's.
knows this.
It was Bobby's girlfriend or wife?
Nope.
Kristen?
Oh.
Who was? No.
You're wrong about the first part, correct about the name. It was Sue Ellen's sister.
Sue Ellen's sister?
I think Kristen was. Is that what it is? Sue Ellen's sister.
It seemed like such a big deal
I
at the
know.
time. And I became,
No,
who
it was
did
actually
shoot JR?
It was actually, if I remember, and I've watched some shows on. It's a little anticlimactic when they
Yeah,
found out
like,
it was her. Everyone's like, "What? It was Chris." She was an
Yeah,
off
I know. We were all like,
character.
"What?"
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's that's better than what I would have imagined.
It was a cool memory.
That's a good memory. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're traveling to Europe, and this was a huge phenomenon. And who shot?
Yeah,
JR?
well, that one was Asia. That was the Asia trip. Europe was the trip before that. Yeah.
I didn't hear. I'd never heard that Asia was into the Who Shot JR.
Oh,
'Cause in
they
Europe
were.
and England, there was actually a huge deal. Not to go too far off on a tangent, but everything airs earlier in England. So there's this whole documentary about the Who Shot JR, and that there was rich Americans flying the Concorde to England to go to London to see it first because they wanted to see it first.
Tell me you
It was
have
like a
too
huge-
much money without telling me you
I
have
know.
too much
Yes,
money.
we wanted to see Who Shot JR
my gosh.
first, but I didn't know it was a phenomenon in Asia.
Yes,
it was
it
in
was.
Europe, but in
It was
Asia.
crazy.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Very
they were
cool.
going nuts about it. It
All
was
right.
so crazy.
Well, I don't want to fast forward through your musical journey, but I do want to kind of get to how the whole thing started. The Martin musicals.
Yeah.
Mary Martin. So your journey takes you. We are fast forwarding a little bit, but we go to Tarleton.
No, UNT.
UNT.
University of
Oh,
North
that's right.
Texas. Yeah.
Yes, University.
Go Mean
How could I
Green.
forget that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Still fans of the Mean Green.
Oh, yeah.
Still fans of the Mean Green. Okay. Takes you to UNT. Music there, or just
Yes.
education?
No. I was a music major.
Okay.
I never really. I just poured myself into everything music.
Mm-hmm.
In high school, I was in band, and then eventually in choir. And then I knew I wanted to major in music, but I wasn't quite sure. I almost went into music therapy. That was it's a really wonderful field. That was and
Wonderful field, but it's one of those that's a little risky because there's not a billion jobs out there
not a
for
billion
music.
music teacher jobs either.
No.
Yeah, true.
Well, you
Yeah.
and I fall in a little bit of a special little world. We're the
It's a
specials.
special little
We're the
world.
specials.
Yes.
There's music, art.
Yes.
Where what district's fortunate enough to have it? It's music, art, and PE.
Right.
And I was physical education, so my life was always spent with the music teacher and the
Yep.
art teacher and me and the PE teacher, and that was always the elementary school world. We weren't outcasts per se.
We
But,
call
you know,
ourselves the weirdos
there
at
you
school.
go. There you go. So yes, we have a different schedule and a different set of
yes.
responsibilities. In many ways, more so, and some ways tax. Star, whatever the test is now.
Yeah.
We just monitor rooms. That was always, but yes. Okay.
They won't let me near any of that.
Oh, no.
They don't want me to have anything to do with
Okay, that's good. Fair
Yeah.
enough. I remember being in these rooms, and they were like, "Coach, can we? What do we do?" I was like, "I don't know.
I don't know.
Just stop.
Yeah.
Don't cheat. Just don't cheat, because then
cheat.
I'll get in trouble." That was don't you cheat, and then you're not doing PE next week.
That's right.
So yeah, that was it. Okay, so we're music major, graduate.
Yeah,
Is Mary
music
Martin your first-
education.
Music education. Is that your first?
No, I graduated and got a job at Brock ISD. This first job I had was nutso. I love Brock ISD, but this was my job. So Brock was small at the time, and they had kindergarten through 12th grade all on one campus.
Okay, I've heard that. Yes.
Yes. And so I was the entirety of the fine arts department for the whole ISD.
Elizabeth, that's a very prestigious role.
I
You were
was
the
the
head
entire,
of the entire fine arts. I
with
hope that's on your
zero
resume.
experience,
Hope
these
that's on your
poor
resume in
children.
bold. You
I
led the ISD.
formally apologize to everyone. I taught in Brock. I did my best.
They probably loved your singing.
Zero experience. So I was teaching elementary music in the morning, and then middle school and high school choir and band and theater.
And band.
Yes, choir, band, and theater. Yeah.
Do you have a band background?
I do.
What's the
Yes. Oh, I'm a
instrument?
huge band nerd. Like I was in band first. Like
What's
that
the
was
instrument?
flute and piccolo. Yeah.
Flute and piccolo.
I only got into choirs so I could be in the school musical. I love choir, yay, choir. But I'm a band nerd, and I loved band, love my band buddies. That was kind of my home in school. But I found out the hard way, you can't audition for the high school musical unless you were in choir. I was like, well, I'm signing up for choir then. So
That's
choir.
that.
And when I got to school, when I got to UNT, I could study both. They let me study I had to pick a concentration. So I went vocal, but I could still be in the marching band at UNT, which was super fun. So I did marching band.
You were in the marching band at
Yeah,
UNC.
yeah.
Piccolo or
Piccolo.
flute or both?
I played piccolo. Nobody can hear that flute down there. You got to get the piccolo.
Yeah, Brenna
Yeah.
Farbe, she's doing she's in the Texas Tech marching band. doing
That's
the
right.
Clarinet.
Yes, she is. Go,
And-
Brenna.
Yep, she's rocking it, and she just started going to all the basketball.
Oh,
'cause
she's in basketball band.
She's been doing the basketball band. So she
fun.
went to the Big 12 championship.
That
she
is
didn't go to the
cool.
Final Four here, which I was like, that's the bigger one. Why'd you do that? She's like, well, it's spring break. I kind of wanted a break. I was like, okay. But she started doing
That's
the
awesome.
trumpet. So she switched.
What?
She's still going to do, I think, the clarinet, but she switched to do the trumpet.
They can hear you louder.
They can hear
It's a
you
very
louder.
loud
So she's been,
instrument.
she's been practicing that. at
Good
the
for
house.
her. Go, Brenna.
Yeah, well, I
Love
don't
it.
love the practicing in the house.
Yeah.
No, but it is great. She's doing wonderful, so that's pretty awesome. But okay, so we now move to Mary Martin.
Yeah, so I was at Brock for 5 years. That kind of developed into the school's growing so fast. So pretty soon after I got that job, it grew so fast that I could do elementary music, which is what I really intended to do when I got my degree. I'm certified.
So much fun.
I'm certified as a band director and a choir director, but what I wanted to be was an elementary music teacher.
Yeah.
That's my jam. And so that grew, and I was able to shift and do that. Then I started having kids, and we had made the decision that I would be a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
So I taught for 5 years at Brock, and then I was a stay-at-home mom for 12 years.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and
Susie got to do it for about a half a decade, for about 5
Yeah.
years. That was the best time of our life.
It's
That was-
so
it was
fun.
the
It
best.
is.
But then she came back to Mary Martin. Did you come back to Mary Martin?
I did.
There
I
you
came
go.
back to Mary
Okay.
Martin. I did some stuff on the side. I was teaching like part-time at a couple of
Sure.
private schools music, and I had a voice studio out of my house.
Great.
That, like we have a little music room, and I would teach kids.
Oh, we have a music room.
Oh yeah, we have a music room.
Right,
Yeah,
all
we
right.
do. We
Well,
have a
that makes sense. I actually have a brewery set up in my garage.
See?
So,
See
I
there?
guess it depends
Yeah.
on what your interests are. Yeah.
Yeah,
All
we
right.
have a pretty fun music room.
Yeah, no, that's
so
pretty awesome.
I kind of turned that into a studio and taught lessons,
And your
voice
kids
lessons.
followed. We'll get to them soon. Your kids
Yeah.
followed. No, that's pretty
Yeah.
awesome. All right, so I want to get to the Mary Martin musicals. That's
Okay.
the big one. So where does the idea branch from? The first idea, Peter Pan, we want to do a school play. Did we do, and I should know this, did we do smaller school plays first? And this was the first one we want to make big? Where does the whole kind of idea come from?
Well, when I talked to Brent about going back to work, because I kind of thought at some point I may not be going back to work. I kind of thought I may just ride this out because
Loving being a mom, yeah.
the only job I was really willing to go back to work for was Mary Martin, and it did not appear that position was going to open up, and I just wasn't interested in working anywhere else that was really close to our house. That's where our kids were going. I didn't want to teach at a different school and have to all the things. So I'd kind of, I'm not going to go back to work. I'm just going to do this. And then, surprise, that position opened up, and I started getting texts and calls from teachers at Mary Martin. Did you know that this position's open? Aren't you a trained music teacher? And I was like, oh. And so from that moment when I talked to Brent about it, I was like, you know what's going to happen if I go back to work. And he was like, he's like, yes, I do. And that was kind of a conversation we had to have, because I can't not do it. I knew if I went back to work, I was like, I'm going to want to do productions, because I skipped over something important. The last year I was at Brock, the 5th year there, I directed the first musical I ever directed. We did Annie
Yay.
Jr. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. It was a great memory. We had a great time, and I didn't know what I was doing at all, and did it anyway. And we did Annie, and it was awesome. So that was super fun, and I was ruined after doing that once. So I knew if I go back, I'm going to want to do
It's going to go big or
productions.
go home. Yep.
Yep,
okay.
go big, that's right. Go big or
Okay.
go home. And he was like, yes, I know. And so took that job. Great fit. I was very excited to have that job. I love that being my work home. Like I said, that's where my kids were. The first year, towards the end of the year, got in a conversation. I was like, this is Mary Martin Elementary. we should be doing Peter Pan every year. I was picturing it like, it didn't turn out like I envisioned it. I was picturing it like almost like a pageant that's repeated every year. We're Mary Martin. We should do a little Peter Pan play every year. Like, this is perfect. We should, you know, if we got the costumes together, we would have them for each year and the set, and we could just do it on the cafeteria stage, right? Like, it would be so cute.
Yeah.
You know, I thought this would be sweet.
Drake's Yoke started out with Oyster Bar.
Yeah, exactly.
Not everything
Right.
finishes
So-
necessarily exactly how it started. Okay, so that was the thought. It was
That was the
great.
thought,
And
and it was like, it'll be
grow.
cute.
Your probably thought is it would grow. We'll get better every year. We'll
Yeah.
save some of the props.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And I really wasn't imagining it being this huge. I mean, Peter Pan's such a simple, delightful show. It doesn't have to be, you know, a grandiose thing. And in my mind, I didn't have a grandiose stage. So I had that little bitty stage on the Mary Martin, you know, off the cafeteria. I was like, okay, this is what we have. So this is where the show will be. And I got permission from the principal. Okay, we're going to have auditions. Lori Box.
Yes, Lori Box.
Lori Box, yeah. So cool. And I just sent home a little, I don't even remember how I got it to parents. I feel like I just made some flyers, and if a kid wanted them, they took them out. It was like super chill, like not a big deal. And I don't know, 165 children, I think, around there showed up to audition. And the principal was outside the door. She was like, we are like breaking fire code in here. I had no idea. We didn't do auditions, sign-ups or anything. I was just like, come at 6 and you can come in and
Good
sing.
problem to have, yep.
And it was like the whole town was out there. And that's when we knew, we were like, this is something, this is sparking creativity in these people. These people are gung-ho for this. Well, then the trouble was, I had already told them they would all get in. I wasn't going to cut kids in an elementary. And then we had all these kids.
Yeah, so I'm going to jump. Is that when the idea of chorus camp?
That happened the next year.
Okay. Because that was a great way to include
extra
wonderful
people.
way. They got to come on. They got to do their singing. Maybe even two songs. They got to sing.
We learned from that first year
Okay.
that we need an option for little kids that doesn't require so much practice, because this is too hard on them.
Yeah.
We had some kids. Well, I can think of one, Sandy Stripmatter, who was a first grader, and she was really good. And I was like, I feel like I'm going to turn this kid off
If I cut her or whatever.
Yeah, well, like it's just too much work for
Yeah.
a first grader. Like I have her in all these hours and hours of rehearsal, and it's like wearing her out. And I'm watching her. I was like, this is her thing. I can tell by looking at her. But I'm like, I'm putting too much on a little bitty kid. And that's when we started thinking, we need an option for little kids.
It's funny.
not
That's
so
not undifferent than like the world of sports or youth athletics.
Pee-wee,
You can turn off. You can turn off the most athletic
Exactly.
young man in the world for soccer.
if
or
you put too
baseball.
much weight on them.
Too much stress, too much time. They want to go to practice and then go get ice cream with dad.
Yeah, exactly.
And they want to do that once to twice a week at
Yeah.
the so yeah.
Exactly.
No, so that's not.
So
that,
I was like watching her, and I was like, I'm making this child miserable. And this kid, this is her thing. I can tell you right now, this is her thing, and it was her thing. And I was like, I've got to have an option for kids that's not quite so much
No, it's
rehearsal.
great.
Yeah.
No,
but
that was great.
so we got to work in the numbers, and Lori was like, there is no way if each of these kids has 3 or 4
That
people,
we can do it at Mary Martin.
we can't fit it on this stage. And I was like, well, what are we going to do? And then she called the 9th grade center, and she's like, I think we should do it at the 9th grade center. And so then we started the numbers with that, and she added up the number of seats there, and she was like, that's still not enough. And then we all looked at each other, and we're like, we're going to have to do this at the high school.
Going to Bass Theater?
Well, when it turned into the high school, it was like, well, then we're going to need like a real set. We're doing this then. It was like, we're not going to get up on the stage of the high school
Love it.
with a couple of,
So now,
poster boards.
Yeah, so we're down. We got about 4 or 5 minutes. So there's a few things I want to get.
Yeah.
So, the history of the Mary. So which ones stand out as some of the ones you're most proud of, the ones the most challenging? I don't want to ask you who your favorite kid is. You can't answer that. Can't answer that. But like ones that stick out as like, wow, this was a leap forward. I remember there was one play where kids were raised on, ropes. What's 1 or 2 that kind of stand out as something like this was a first or this was interesting or
The most special will always be Peter Pan, the first one. Second to that, when we got halted for COVID, we were in the middle of Lion King.
That's right.
And then the next year, we brought the cast back, even the ones that leveled up a year. We told them they were allowed to still do the show because that was going to be their last year. And so we let them come back. And that opening number of Lion King, when Rafiki got out there,
just felt good.
Oh, that was just a beautiful moment to
Friday
to
night.
bring back. It was like everything coming back to life after such a weird, crazy
and for
ride.
those folks that might be listening that aren't, Mary Martin gurus, when you say level up, that was a brilliant idea. It was very nice. And it was, Mary Martin, we went through a bond and we built new schools and we removed sixth graders from the elementary school. Well, those poor fifth graders who just did a play, now they don't get to do the play, but but they should have been a sixth grader, and next year was the promise of being possibly a star or having a more leading role. So you started what I think is an ongoing tradition
Yes, it is.
that you're going to plan on continue doing. The sixth graders, although they're in another school, they get to participate not as crew or they get to actually participate in the play as if they're the K through 5.
They get to come back for a bonus round, and it's a very special year. They're the leaders. They get special privileges that other kids don't get.
Love it.
They get to set out the props, and they get to put up the tables, and all the little kids are like looking at them going, I can't wait till I'm a sixth grader, and I can do all this stuff.
Is there a huge drop-off from the fifth to sixth, or do you find that most of them kind of stay?
Depends. Year to year, a lot of them come back.
A lot of them come back?
Yeah, a lot of them come
back.
And
then talk to me about what's the crew.
The crew,
because I pictured Leah and Brenna.
Yeah,
and
that's my alumni. Once they're in seventh grade, they can come back as my crew. Could not do the show without my alumni crew. I tell them all the time. Yeah, they were just working with me with the fly rig for Aladdin. They move the set pieces. They're the only ones. I don't let other volunteers. It's just my alumni. They come back and they do costumes. They do hair, makeup. They do. They move the set pieces.
Morgan, what's your job?
Chorus camp.
Are you chorus camp?
Right, yeah, so they're in charge of chorus. And it's just the most beautiful thing. They all grow up into their own
little. She had
her
alumni shirt on. When we were coming here tonight, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I got to take it off. You're not supposed to wear it out." She goes, "I don't want to get dirty. You're not supposed to wear it out."
Don't wear them on the
street.
She
goes, "I'm representing the play, so I don't, I don't want to be here at a bar with the shirt on."
That's right.
Like, I think
it's a rule. It's a big rule.
So that was pretty great. That's awesome. No, so okay. So now the current play, and I feel
Aladdin
like,
Jr.
Yeah, and we skipped over so many amazing plays and wonderful things. Time just keeps going. But Aladdin Jr. What are we in store for? What are we excited about?
I'm having so much fun with Aladdin Jr. It's so much fun. Okay. This is an amazing cast. They've been working so hard. The songs are so fun in this one. And you can tell they really like them, and they are just giving it their all. They are the hardest working cast. Oh my gosh. They want this to be good.
How many movie songs versus, because a lot of these plays that I've discovered, I'm not an artsy guy, but I kind of like that. I recognize a lot, and then all of a sudden there's one or two songs. I'm like, where's that from?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's in the Broadway version, or that's in the youth version. How many are we seeing here in Aladdin?
You got High Adventure, Babcock Omar, Aladdin Kasim. Those two you won't know if you've just seen the movie, the animated. You won't know those two. However, when I saw this on Broadway, I don't know what 2011 or something. We didn't know those songs either. We came away. We were like, we love those songs. Those were like our favorite parts of the show. They're really fun numbers. It was a great addition to the show. They added 3 characters that you may not know.
Oh, cool.
Babcock, Omar, and Kasim. They're hilarious.
I am most excited, and I hope everybody watches this. I'm most excited to see the Apple Cart Girl.
Oh, she is something else.
Girl.
That Apple Cart Girl.
Let me tell you,
Sophie she does not put up with anybody stealing her apples.
The Apple Cart Girl is the one I am. So that's just me. I'm biased. Okay.
She does not put up with that.
No, she doesn't. So when can people see this? We're coming to
It is April 4th and 5th.
Okay.
We have a flying rig set up from New York. Nice. So we're going to have an actual flying carpet. Jeannie's actually going to fly. Aladdin's going to do some flying, and it is just an amazing show.
April 4th and 5th. Where do we get our tickets?
We'll love it. MartinMusicals.com.
MartinMusicals.com.
Yeah, or at the door. Come get them at the door.
It's at the Durant.
The Durant
April
Auditorium,
4th and 5th.
Weatherford High School.
Play number
12 or 13.
I love it.
I lost track.
I love it. Elizabeth, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.